Good morning, everyone. Appreciate you coming because of the, I guess that snowstorm, solid 6 inches. A lot of people won't be here. And this is, if not the crucial turn in the story of Exodus, it's right there. So what I decided to do at about midnight was I'm going to hold off on that because Hanukkah started. Rabbi Bizna will be here next week. And so when more people are here, we'll enter the Red Sea together. But we'll take a moment. I ended up preaching at 8 o'clock this morning. I got a call at 7:11. I can't get there yet. It's like, oh, you mean in 49 minutes? Okay, I'll go. And I thought of the sermon on the way to here, and it was passable. Oh, it was great. Wow. It's so great you're going to read it again in the Friday email, I'm pretty sure. But the line that I thought of encapsulates that whole idea that I preached about, and interestingly affects us today, what we focus on. And that is, Advent is a season of subtlety. It's not big flashing lights. Look, we've arrived. It's pay attention of what's coming on the horizon. Look for God, the Messiah, in unexpected ways. So for today, let's dismiss the idea this will be a 55-minute long lecture where then I will run to class. That I don't mean to make you uncomfortable, but that we could talk a little bit. But think of this as a guided reflection just before the Israelites enter the Red Sea. They're at that, we're not quite there yet, but we're not where we were moment. So feel free to ask questions, of course. Let us read. Anybody want to read? Shall I read it? For the sake of the camera. Exodus 14, 10 through 14. What has happened is a recap. There are printed versions right up there as you come in. Israelites were driven out by Pharaoh from Egypt. The 10th plague had happened, the killing of the firstborn, and what God said, what Yahweh said was going to happen, did. Please leave, take our stuff, clothing, gold, jewelry, get out of town. And then a little bit of time passes. And in my experience, when there's some really dramatic, overwhelming event, it's too much. But then you reflect a day, and the feeling, the mood, is very, very different than it was 24 hours, even fewer before. And so the mood shift is the Egyptians, please leave, to, I'm going to kill those SOBs. We hate them. Our firstborn died. They turned our Nile into blood. To heck with those people. Let's go get them. And it switches to that very abruptly. The part we haven't read is, so Pharaoh organizes, and he's going himself. This is not send my guys. Oh, I'm going to be there when we kill them all. And there's no mercy on the horizon. Pharaoh organizes 600 of his best chariots. And for comparison's sake, this would be the biggest army in the world with the best mobile unit that exists. The Egyptians didn't invent chariot warfare. They experienced it, and then they adapted it and made it far, far better than it was. So you have one guy driving the horse, or usually two, and another guy with bow and arrow and spears when you're closer, going all over the battlefield. And so you have a mobile artillery unit when most people have like a staff or a stick, and they're just going around plunking people. And they move fast. And that, the 600 of the finest chariots in the Egyptian army, and Pharaoh and all these ground troops set out. And what is their mission? What are they going to do? Revenge for all of the insults, the killing of our firstborn, the blasphemy. We're going to destroy. Do you remember how many women, children, men, animals it was? 600,000 men plus women, say another 600,000 women, a lot of people, all of what we would call the Israelites. And they're walking. And you know what it's like when you try to have, grandma and two little kids on vacation, like, would you please get ready? Like, our reservations were half an hour ago. Imagine all of the old people, all of the young people, all the animals trying to move them in the same direction. And even weirder, they don't just go the straight route. God has them go in this, not circuitous, but they go the wrong direction. Like they don't go away from Egypt. They kind of go down here and they go up there and then there. So who's leading this caravan? And then we get to where we are today. Israelites are wandering or being led, I guess you would say. As Pharaoh drew near and his chariots and army, the Israelites looked back. Hey, what's that gigantic cloud of dust for miles and miles? The Israelites looked back, and there were the Egyptians advancing on them. Now that would, just think of the movie scene. That is so much is in that one line. In great fear, because it starts at the back, oh my God, and rumbles all the way through the front. And you know how a telephone works. By the time it goes from the back to the front, it's like there are millions of chariots coming to kill us. And they're trying like, oh hey, the old joke, I don't need to run faster than the bear, I just need to run faster than you. There's that stuff going on. There's a lot of weirdness in every person for himself. In great fear, the Israelites cried out to the Lord, help, save us. They said to Moses, this cracks me up. They said to Moses, was it because there were no graves in Egypt that you've taken us to die in the wilderness? There's no negotiation. There's no subtlety. It's just fear. Because there were no graves in Egypt that you've taken us to die in the wilderness. What have you done to us, bringing us out of Egypt? Is this not the very thing we told you in Egypt? I told you so. Let us alone and let us serve the Egyptians, be their slaves. For it would have been better for us to serve the Egyptians than to die in the wilderness. But Moses said to the people, do not be afraid, stand firm, and see the deliverance the Lord will accomplish for you today. For the Egyptians whom you see today, you shall never see again. The Lord will fight for you, and you only have to keep still. Yeah, sure. And again, that's Moses probably speaking through Aaron to a million, or at least a whole lot of people, all of the Egyptians there. Let me reread it, and you got the content now. Think of what emotions come through, what word or words stand out to you. Notice how this little part of the story is structured. There's a repetition in it. What the people say and don't say. Is there any rationality to this? As Pharaoh drew near, the Israelites looked back, and there were the Egyptians advancing on them. In great fear, the Israelites cried out to the Lord. They said to Moses, was it because there were no graves in Egypt that you have taken us to die in the wilderness? What have you done to us, bringing us out of Egypt? Is this not the very thing we told you in Egypt? Let us alone and let us serve the Egyptians. For it would have been better for us to serve the Egyptians than to die in the wilderness. But Moses said to the people, do not be afraid, stand firm, and see the deliverance that the Lord will accomplish for you today. For the Egyptians whom you see today, you shall never see again. The Lord will fight for you, and you only have to keep still. What jumps out at you? Emotions, phrases, structure. It's amazingly dense paragraph of meaning. I could preach about 10 sermons. Lucy?
The thing that jumped out at me was what you They were expecting something different.
What have you done to us? That phrase the Israelites utter is tied into Bonnie Marie's sermon at 9 and 11 today. It's not what the Israelites expect, and it sounds like, or want. This is not what we expected to have happen. You remember, I won't say his name. One person last week said, "This is not the God that we expect. In fact, we shouldn't use religion or God to base a morality." Like, that's interesting. And I want God to be this way. And I didn't in no way challenge, but that in fact is the first sin. It's like, I want to be God, not let God be God. And that also is what's happening here. Nick?
So I immediately have questions around this about like is this actually what happened? Were they really like, let us alone, let us serve the Egyptians, or are they now just looking for somebody to blame because it's gone bad?
Great question. Is this what happened? You know, it would have been better if we'd been well-paid mid-level managers in Egypt. No, we were slaves. It had been, is that what happened? We'd rather have been slaves in Egypt, or
they're looking for somebody to blame.
Or they're looking for somebody to blame. Well, let's, again, for the sake of discussion, assume this happened at least somewhat like that. What do you think? Have you not experienced something like this in your own life many times? Joanne?
Well, the Israelites are in the grip of fear.
The Israelites are in the grip of fear.
Yes, and I've experienced that grip of fear. So that's the first thing that came to mind when I read this was, your faith went out the window.
Your faith goes out the window. And in fear, I mean, very basic animal instinct, fight, flight, freeze. That's what you do. And it sounds like they're already fleeing. I'm not fighting chariots with archers in them. A freeze, kind of, you're overwhelmed. And their overwhelmed fear is to blame somebody. I mean, it is totally normal to do, because none of this is our fault. We would have been happy to be slaves. Yeah, really? Are you sure? Also, I don't know about you, but something that seems to happen, it's easy to use selective memory and skip over all the bad parts. Like, say in a relationship or your job, it's like, well, you know, I got paid really well. You hated it every day going into the office. I may or may not have said in a previous job, this job will kill me, but not today. I'm going to go in. And that's how it is. And did they forget what it's like to be slaves? Where, oh, by the way, they killed your firstborn, remember? So there wouldn't be too many of you. It was a horrible life. But fear, in the grip of fear, because the Egyptians were advancing. This is not a sense of dread about some unknown bad thing in the future. Oh no, here they come. Here they are. And they're going much faster than we can go. It's inevitable. It's an inexorable march to our death. So of course fear would grip them. And when you respond in fear, fight, flight, freeze, how else? You blame people. You got us into this, Moses. Does that imply fix it? Do something? Maybe it's a, Hail Mary. Yeah, Catherine? The part of the theme of the whole story is the inability to trust God. Another way is to say have faith, indecisiveness with small things and big things. Is that fair?
And it continues, of course, as they're in the wilderness. They don't stop complaining.
They don't. I have asked Aaron Bisnow and Rabbi Myers, did please don't hear this as anti-Semitic. Did the Jews ever stop complaining? Oh, no. The Christians didn't either, it turns out. You remember Aaron Bisnow's joke, the waiter goes up to the group of people, is there anything okay here? It's a really good joke. Just assume everything is broken all the time. So here's a way of thinking about this. Let's again assume for the sake of discussion that this happened. What does it mean where they are let me rephrase, can they save themselves? Is there anything that people can do to save themselves at this moment? Could they throw...
We know they can cross the Red Sea, but I don't know that they know that.
Oh, they don't know that at all. No one would even dream of such a thing.
And they couldn't do it themselves.
They couldn't do it themselves. That's the point I want to make. Part of the narrative, setting aside what did or didn't happen, the writer wants us to know there is no way outside of Yahweh that the people live. Only God saves them. They're at this point, we'd say rock and a hard place. You've got this gigantic, by the way, it's sometimes called the Sea of Reeds or the Red Sea, this big lake, Lake Erie, think of that. Lake, you can't swim it, you can't walk, it's too deep, it's too big. That's in front of you. And then this gigantic army going really, really fast, or at least faster than you walk, is behind you. There is no out. Can you go to the side? Can you hide? No, you're in the desert. You're dead. It's where, do you drown or are you killed by an army? One or the other. So, but what was the promise Yahweh gave to Abraham, Isaac, Jacob? The promise for all of the Israelites who are not yet the Jews. What's supposed to happen to that family line? A great nation and prosper more than the sands on the seashore, more than the stars in the sky. Does it look like that at all? No. There are a lot of them, but they're about to be wiped out. So there's this wonderful tension, dynamic between the promise that Yahweh makes from the very beginning to Abraham, Isaac, to Jacob that's passed down. That promise is still operative. That's part of the message throughout this whole thing, that I'm leading you to the promised land eventually to become this people, to live into that promise. But it doesn't look like it at all. That's part of probably Bonnie Marie's sermon. None of, stepping aside for a moment, why did John the Baptist in the reading gospel this morning, are you the one that I should expect, or is there another? How am I supposed to know? Says John the Baptist. And by the way, I don't write this, but he's not the dashing, camel hair, locust eating, wild honey eating, you brood of vipers who warned you. That's pretty edgy stuff. Where is he at that point of the story we read in the gospel this morning? He's in prison, he's in jail, and if there's one thing you got in prison is lots of time to think. And so is this guy, his cousin in some sense, are you the Messiah or is it somebody else? And what did Jesus answer him? You remember? Look what I did. The blind see, the deaf hear, the lame walk, the prisoners are released, etc. Okay, why would John the Baptist not immediately get, obviously he's the Messiah.
He is what they expected.
He's not what they expect.
Temporal leader.
Jesus is only the religious leader. The religious leader based on King David. The political leader, kick out the Romans, make Israel great again. He's supposed to do that. And the military leader to secure our borders and grow our territory and so on. He's not political, military, religious. He's just religious. So it doesn't match their expectations of what the Messiah is supposed to be. Same reason, by the way, why today. So the expectations the people have do not match what is happening. And the expectations were, we're supposed to be a great nation, but you know what? I'd rather go back to being slaves. There's weird tension dynamic. Something else in the story that I find fascinating. Do you know what the word redeemer means? I've mentioned that, I think, one time before. Jesus is the redeemer. To buy back. It means, a really good contemporary analog is people that have medical debt. You could sometimes, like 10 cents on the dollar on some occasions, there's all this medical debt. We will give money, say it's $1 million, we give 100,000, and it wipes out all that debt. And if you're an individual and you have $100,000 of debt, it's overwhelming. You can't do anything else. You're free suddenly. That redeem means to buy back. In that case, it meant to buy the freedom of a slave, to set him or her free into the world again, to be whoever God called them to be and all that. But it literally means just to buy back somebody. So God is redeeming them, but in this setting them free, it's more than just you're not obligated to be slaves anymore. What else is this redemption arc in this Israel Exodus story? How else are they becoming free? How else are they being redeemed? Remember the joke, sorry Lucy, about the Pittsburgher goes to live in Cleveland for 10 years and you suddenly start to think like a Clevelander and you eat their food and talk like they do. And 20 years and 50 years, you can't even remember the old country. But the Israelites were in Egypt for 400 years. You're Egyptian. You're not a Hebrew anymore. You speak both languages. It's redeeming, setting free of the people from that as well. And here is that Egyptian world coming to crush them. So it's to shape about all that. Here's another interesting idea. In the grip of fear, do you remember, I can tell you what I experienced, bad things or good things more easily? Bad things, most people. 10 compliments or 1 criticism, which one is going to stick with you? Great sermon. Oh, thanks for your words, Pastor. Oh, that really helped me. I didn't really get it today. Oh, I think about that all week. Like, well, how could I have done better? Not all the good stuff. That tends to be how we think about things. We focus on the negative, or at least the negative sticks with us in a stronger way. I assume that's our psychologists and psychiatrists aren't here today, but it seems like that's human nature for that to happen. The fear, is it fear or hopeful promise that has the bigger say in the Israelites' life? Fear. Yeah. Good point. Threat, when you get something good, it goes into the pile or stash of what you already have. But a threat is removing the good you have. And a threat is you have an immediate, even a visceral response to that. That's a great point. Thank you. So all those things are happening. And when that fear sets in and you're afraid of losing what you got, they immediately blame, as Nick was saying, they blame Moses, and then they go to, it was much better being slaves. At least we had a decent burial plot. At least we knew where we were going to die and how we were going to die. And that's, to me, crazy, horrible thinking about all those things. But that's where they are in the story. And to Nancy's point, are they ready to cross the Red Sea yet? They're ready for something. In my opinion, they can't imagine that that's an option. That's winning the lot. It's like $1 billion right now. That's winning the $1 billion lottery. It's like that's a cool thing to think about for 5 minutes, but it's not real.
Take anything to give them an idea they can be saved. But they don't know what that thing is.
That's a great point. They would, take anything to be saved.
Anything would give them the idea they could be saved.
You're grasping at anything for hope, a way out, a lifeline to. You're drowning, you're trying to grab the floating log that's going by. That's where they are in the story. It's a very interesting idea. So, with some questions, they're in a sense, I'm going to go back to this Advent theme. The Israelites, now they're running, but they're waiting for something to happen. Do they have agency in this, it's not a moment, but series of moments as they're trying to escape?
Well, no, in one sense, but yes, in agency, they have to be ready to be trusting.
They have to be ready to be trusting.
But there's nothing they can practice.
That's excellent. We should have ordained you a long time ago, Catherine. By the way, that didn't make us smarter, just it helps me recognize it. They don't have agency as in to affect their future outcome, except in the sense that they can do something, that is to wait, to, what else did you say? Be open, to trust, to look for, to recognize. You could say active waiting. Where is our future? Is it in fact with God, Yahweh, like Yahweh promised, or not? And what would that look like? So, in your own life, what does it mean to trust God when God has promised stuff, but it's not arrived yet? We're still waiting in Advent for Messiah to come. So the Christian approach, we're still waiting in the Jewish world. The Messiah is not here yet. There are different theories. When all of us follow the commandments for one day, Messiah will arrive. Or when it gets so desperate, Messiah will arrive. We're all waiting. How do we wait for God's promises? Or if you're not sure about that, how do you recognize them? That was the theme of my sermon this morning.
How do you recognize God's promise that it's come?
How do you recognize God's presence or beginning of a fulfillment of a promise when it's there? In your own life or in this Egyptian story?
My experience has always been that when I have a problem, it starts to get solved. More often than not, it's God's hand saying, okay, this is what I want you to do, instead of waiting back for it's going to work.
A great point. So in many cases in his life, or I would say in my life too, when a problem starts to be solved, it's often God's hand in it. And maybe, I'll add a little bit, maybe not in a way I would have anticipated or even wanted or hoped for, and it doesn't mean it's a completion. That was also what I was saying this morning. Advent is a season of subtlety. This idea of active waiting, the Jews are doing here, we as Christians do. It's not looking for everything's tied up with a nice bow and they all lived happily ever after. That's not what redemption means. It means two people who are married who have loads of problems, stop trying to fix each other and learn how to live together well. That's a resolution of biblical proportions, I'd suggest. Do the Israelites suddenly, wow, oh my God, I finally get it, Yahweh, we're going to be faithful? No, that never happens. It's 2 steps forward, 1 step back, always, throughout the whole narrative. I talked to several friends last night about this. Well, didn't they have a golden calf and didn't they do this? Oh yeah, all those things happen still because they don't quite get it, but they trust a little bit more and a little bit more. And you get a preview. One of the best, this is a Jewish and Christian idea, when the Israelites finally get to the Red Sea, Moses in the movie, do you remember, does what? It's very dramatic, strikes the water, lifts it up, makes, great sound effects are going on to this. And the sea's like these two walls of water, and it's completely dry. That's a very cool idea. I think, and again, for the sake of discussion, let's say this happened. I think that's completely bogus. That's dumb. because that's not how God has worked for the whole story before at all. And it would be something akin to the first guy, let's say Moses and Aaron, walk up to the water and it doesn't move. Go, Yahweh open, or whatever they're supposed to say in magic. And the water part, like nothing. It's like, oh, maybe, was it a ripple? Oh, it was just the wind or a minnow. It's not until they start to step into it does the water part. A little bit, and not the whole thing, just enough for him to fit. And just enough for him to take one more step, and then it goes that far, where you're surrounded by walls of water, figurative and literal death surrounding you. And it only opens every step you take in faith, in trust, as Catherine's saying. That's how it works. It's like, well, how many people does it fit? Well, as many as you got, all the Israelites. Could you imagine walking? Have you ever, any of y'all been to a Mammoth Cave or Carlsbad Cavern, something like that? Oh my gosh, it's called Fat Man's Misery. You go in and you got to like suck in your gut and go to the side. And if you have 100 people, it's like, I don't want to wait. If somebody panics and tries to go out there, you're just stuck there. Women, men, children, animals, you go in, and the last one gets in, let's say right before the Egyptians are shooting their arrows, and the wall doesn't close all the way, but it narrows. And so you've got this narrow, just wide enough, however, if it gets wider, the water gets wider, and they're walking surrounded, water in front of them, water on the side, and the Egyptians behind them. That's what's going on in the story. And so they see, that's just my opinion, and not only mine, but others. And the Egyptians are chasing them right into this. You are surrounded by death, literally, figuratively, everywhere you look, yet they keep walking. That is the act of agency of faith. Again, preview of all that. But now they're stuck in between still. What's the hardest part of being stuck between things? Fear takes over from faith, from rationality, at least in my own life, and then listening to people. If I find one of the, I would say, most rewarding parts of my job is to be able to help people see a situation dispassionately from my perspective, using logic, like, I'm not in the boat with you, but I can help you figure out where to go. And so I don't have fear or all this uncertainty brought to it. Here's what's going on, and you can make your own decision. That's extremely rewarding. If you were in that place with the Israelites, hey guys, here's what you can do. What do you say? Keep a positive outlook. That's American. That's not biblical at all, by the way. It's all going to work out in the end. For whom? The Egyptians or for us?
Do not be afraid, stand firm and see the deliverance that the Lord will give.
That is Moses' line, very eloquent for Moses. Do not be afraid. A theme, particularly in the New Testament, through all the Bible, do not be afraid, because just about the most common human emotion is fear to all sorts of events, particularly when it is completely reasonable they are fearful, in the grip of fear, as we say, at this moment. But Moses, stand firm, which, by the way, appears in the New Testament as well, in a different context. Stand firm, be people of faith. Don't let fear consume you. In that sense, that would be stand firm. Because, why would you stand firm? Why would you keep trusting? Because Yahweh, did you guys forget all the stuff He just did? Well, I mean, He made a bunch of gnats show up. That's not really that impressive if you think about it. And there were frogs. And how are boils, and all the Egyptians are going to get a bunch of boils right now. How is that going to help us? They might slow down and be more agitated as they kill us. Like, that's the worst it could be. The killing of the first, okay, maybe killing of the firstborn, but do you remember all the promises that Yahweh just made and demonstrated to you? What would you think if you're on the run, about to approach the sea? If you're getting closer, you see, this is a trope in movies. I just watched one where the bad guy runs and he's running through the woods like, oh, I've come to the cliff. I'm either going to be caught by the cops or I can just jump over the cliff. Here are my two options. That's where they are. So there's this moment of the cop's not here yet. And I don't know, I've always thought this was dumb. The police officer runs and puts his gun on him. It's like, are you going to shoot him or can he just jump? Which it's a dumb thing, dichotomy there. So what would you do? Stand firm, trust God. Trust is easier when the horses and the thundering herd are far away. As they get closer, it's a lot harder to trust. And remember, the scale of this is so big, it takes a while. It's not a split-second decision. It takes a while to move all these people. So you just have to sit in this ambiguity and really unpleasant uncertainty of not knowing. Personally, when it's 5 years ago, I had a heart attack. Oh, I had a heart attack. Oh, I might die. Yeah, you still might if you don't get the procedure, the stent inserted. And the team is on their way, but they won't be here. So you should probably, you're okay. That was the doctor saying, stand firm. What did he say? Do not be afraid, stand firm and see the deliverance. You're going to be okay once we do the procedure. But what about the hour until then? It's touch and go. I was like, oh my God, that's not helpful. And so there's a big block of time where, I'll speak for myself, my whole life didn't flash in front of me, but you start thinking of, do I have any regrets? I'm thinking if I'm an Israelite, I'm thinking, you know what, I wish I would have gone to more meetings. thought, that's probably gone through your head. Or, my God, why did I stay at work that many hours? Or should I have, I should have bought that second camel when I wanted it. I had the money, I had the time, I should have enjoyed my life. All those weird things go through your head. And then, what if I'm gone? What if there are no Israelites left? What will other people think? How will they experience this emotionally? And so on and so forth. So you have all this stuff going on in the heads of the Israelites. And Moses, for his part, seems relatively faithful. Would you agree with that? So I would say surprisingly so compared to earlier. I'm not a good talker. God, get somebody else to do this. I'm killing the Egyptian and run away. And then I have this new wife and kid and I don't want to go back. But I guess I'll just leave them for all too. He's not a great guy, but at this moment, he seems to rise to the occasion a little bit. When is a delay more painful than the absence in your life? Not knowing. Not knowing is always painful. Yeah, it is. And it almost has a physical component to it. May make your stomach upset. You get a rash, all those other things. It affects your whole system. So think, if you would, for 400 years, hey, Yahweh, where'd you go? We're still slaves. Where you been this whole time? And then, oh, we're free. Oh, we got all this cool stuff. Oh, you know what? I think we were better off without you, Yahweh. You did not a darn thing for 400 years. Then you show up for a few weeks or however long that took. And now we're all going to die with a bunch of cool gold and silver and clothes that they're going to take right back. Thanks, by the way, God, for all your help. We were better off as slaves. That's a normal, I would say, not blasphemous, it's a reasonable reaction to the situation. Why do you think the writer drops this paragraph right into the narrative, which really didn't need to be there?
It's, as you say, not much use as advice, but it is good to reflect on it. Only to keep still. Just have to accept it. Stick with your ambiguity in all its stuff. That's your only option.
Yeah, having to live with the ambiguity. Think of, exactly right. Think of in your own life what Egypts start to seem attractive again. Have you had that experience before? What makes Egypt, the land you left, whatever hardship it caused, be attractive again? It's predictable. You knew what was going to happen. It's the devil you know type of thing. At least there we had some food, and we knew how we would die and what our day was going to be like. Now it's uncertain. How many times in our lives do we trade predictability, which is maybe harder or worse for us, rather than uncertainty? Because that's what God is asking for. God is asking, trust me amidst the uncertainty, through it, and you're going to be delivered, whereas they want predictability, certainty, slavery. It's set up that way on purpose. Choose God, choose Egypt, in this wonderful paragraph. Oh, for goodness sake, that was longer than I thought. Where in your life is God acting that's not fully resolved? In the example I gave earlier, standing by the seashore, you don't want to do what's behind you. What's ahead is a little bit scary. But there's something there. It's a half-resolved problem. It's a little green shoot coming through the concrete. There's something there, but it's fragile. I'm not sure what God has for me in this. That's over and over and over in the Bible. That's where we are. Or you get particularly in the New Testament, Jesus heals this guy. He was blind. Now he can see. Why healed 10 of you? Why did only one of you come back? Because they go off and they can see, but they're the exact same people they were before. Israelites, you're redeemed. Are they any different at this point in the story than where they were for the last 400 years? No. How often do we have some big event that could be life-transforming, which we, as quickly as possible, sweep under the carpet? Let's go back to the way I was. Oh, that was very unpleasant. Let's not think about that anymore. Rather than integrate it into our life experience that makes us who we are. And yes, it was awful and painful, but that, in fact, is part of the process by which we grow. Does that only happen to me, or does it happen to you too? I feel like I'm just pouring it out, or like, oh, wow, that guy is messed up. That seems pretty normal to me. That some things we can deal with, and others, like, that's just too much. So in the story, it takes the Israelites 40 years to get the Egypt out of them. Or whatever horrible experience when you were enslaved, to get that, to grow past that, to integrate it, so you're not forgetting it, but it's a part of you, but it's not all you are. That was a horrible event that happened, but you learned from it, you grew from it. They're not ready to grow yet. They're still ready to be stuck in the past, in this beautiful section that we have today. What other thoughts, reflections about it? Andy?
They're carnal.
I didn't hear you.
They are carnal.
They're carnal?
They're fleshly minded. They want to go back.
Fleshly minded. That is, we don't use the word carnal nearly enough in regular speech anymore. They're fleshly minded. What? Say more. What do you mean fleshly minded?
They want to go back to Egypt, not because it was great, because it was familiar.
They want to go back to Egypt not because it was great, because it was familiar. Yeah.
Familiar is comfortable. It's natural to, well, my grandma was about to die. She said for years she wasn't afraid to die. She was ready to die. When it came time to die, she was scared. Why are you scared? I don't understand why I'm scared. I just don't know what it feels like to die. It was the uncertainty.
Yeah.
It's natural. But what I gathered from reading the Bible is that natural is bad.
Natural. That's a very good observation. It's there quite a bit. It's differently expressed in the Old and New Testaments. But of St. Paul will talk about being of the world or of the flesh or of the Spirit or of God or of the kingdom of heaven. And those are, it came to mean something different, sadly, over time, of like anything bodily is bad. He doesn't really mean that. But seeking after, as you're talking about, heavenly things, experiences through which we would grow and still find God, versus avoiding it at all costs, the pain. Avoiding it at all costs is the worldly, carnal way, and the godly, spiritual way is what you're talking about, of integrating it. Those are two different worlds. The kingdom of heaven, and then living in the world, as Jesus would say it. Interesting point. Any other thoughts on that? This was kind of fun for me to do it more interactive. You can't do it with 30 people, but this is great.
I'm enjoying it.
So I'm thinking a little bit about the experience of drowning.
Thinking about the experience of drowning.
And my understanding is that as you get closer to drowning, you start to thrash around and make a bunch of movement, right? And for people who are rescuers, right, that's something that you have to keep in mind, because that person is then a risk to you as well if you're in a comfortable situation, right? And so that act of thrashing, it's not just impacting the person who's in the process of drowning, it's also impacting their ability to receive help.
Yes, did everybody get that? So if somebody's drowning, the closer they get to the moment of dying, the more desperate you become, thrashing around. And so anybody, a lifeguard or somebody else trying to save them, has to account for, I could be hurt, or he could drag me under, because he's not trying, he's scared to death, and he's anything to hold on, and you got to be careful. I've experienced that in a spiritual way many, many times. Somebody's so broken, so messed up, that like deep throes of alcoholism or drug addiction, or their relationship is completely screwed up, and they're screwing up their lives, and they don't mean to, but they will, to do anything to get balance or throw me a lifeline, will pull you down. It's good to be aware of that. How might one be, in a spiritual sense, be mindful of that you don't get sucked under when somebody else is drowning? Everybody's got the crazy aunt in their family who's like that, or a friend. To be grounded yourself is the surest way not to be sucked under, to be centered, grounded, knowing who you are and who you're not. In most cases, you can't save somebody, but you can help them get to safety in this type of analogy.
I mean, that's Moses here, right?
Moses doesn't enter into their fear. That, from a psychological perspective, he doesn't save them by like, oh, I'll jump in and pull you out. No, he's like, hey, you're okay. Stand firm. I don't know how it's going to be all right, but it's going to be all right. Trust all the things Yahweh's done. You guys remember? You know who you are still? Okay, act like that. You be professional. Go team rah. That's who you are. You've trained. We're disciplined. Be who you're supposed to be, and you'll be fine. But he takes a rather mature approach in that. Yeah, good observation. Okay, thank you all. Headed off to 11 o'clock.